Okay, so I want to talk about in the mornings. You guys have marked me down as a failure every morning. Well, about every other morning because um, I won't, maybe about every other morning I'll eat at like 10 or maybe even 11 in the morning. And you guys write this down as fail. She has failed. Okay. And I want to explain to you the practice, the intentional practice behind this and why I do that because you never asked. Um, so first of all, you should know that, and this is something that I learned early on, yes, admittedly from Eastern culture, from gurus specifically, spiritual people specifically, is about how our digestion works and how there are acids that break down our digestion, break down the food that we eat throughout the night, but this process runs even into the morning, and that it's Americans have a falsehood based on marketing, not based off of spirituality or science, that the yeah, that the that we should have a hearty breakfast early in the morning. That's not true. Say that in science because there's nothing behind it. That is pure marketing. That's the bacon company. That's the milk company trying to sell you some shit. Okay. So the reality is that it's best not to hinder those digestive acids for all around general health, for your digestion, for your heart, for your general health, and it's a daily thing that we should all be keeping in mind. They suggest, maybe a yogurt or a fruit or water or nothing at all. And on a bigger point to that, in nearly every religion on the planet, outside of perhaps Satanism, including Christian, Wicca, Judaism, Islam, and every basically major religion on the planet, they've recognized that fasting is a practice that gets you closer to God. But unlike practices that go on for 7 days or something, that's not healthy for me, being as slight as I am and with as much on the line as there is. I can't fast in a way that would compromise my caloric intake, so I don't. However, that morning time when my stomach is on empty through the night, before getting up and moving around, because I have hypoglycemia, and then that's when I face issues like dizziness or feeling sick or feeling, lethargia or whatever it is. Before I get up, I tend to, what do? Pull from the Bible, pray, meditate, or pull cards. If you've been watching for 6 years, then you know that's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly how I'm spending my time now. I don't doubt. And now what is the reason? It's because my connection to God is at one of its strongest. I also think there's other points in the day that are very strong as well, like at night. But in the morning, all spiritual people, basically in every religion across the globe, agree that fasting gets you closer to God. So about every other day I will do that practice of fasting, but I don't compromise my caloric intake because then I get up and I eat breakfast, I eat lunch, I eat dinner. The calories are not compromised. I just take that morning section for myself. Like today, I did an hour with the Bible. It was a very strong connection. Okay. And you guys write it down as fail, but it's not a failure. It's a spiritual success. Now, I don't doubt in any way that my family had complaint about it, didn't they? Probably across the board. Do you know why that is? Do you know why that? I bet you that my family had something to say about how bad that practice was because they're Satanists. They probably suggested that I get up and I eat a big fat meal of steak, right? Of course. Of course they would. Why? Because they're not spiritual. Because they're anti-God. Because they don't want anyone to connect with God and they don't want there to be a connection to God. Of course. They would ridicule, mock, and tell you all that I was a failure. That is just another case and point of what I've talked about the whole time, which is that they condemn me for having faith or wanting to have a spiritual side. They have done this since I was a little kid. So that would just be more evidence of their Satanism. And of course, not one of you asked me why. Well, why would you? You're not bringers of light. You're not trying to understand what's going on, nor do you represent God. Well, of course then. Of course they would be against it. And it doesn't compromise anything. It's overall better for my health. It's science. It's overall not compromising caloric intake. And it allows me to get a closer relation to God, set my day with a way that, and you see, I've done this for years. For years, you've been watching for Star Wars. How many times was I reading the Bible in the morning? A lot. How many times was I flipping cards or praying or meditating or whatever? A lot. Yes. Yes. So thanks for asking. The proof of my family's Satanism is in their resistance to my spiritual practices. Good life choices, you guys. And this is why you're able to, if you have tapes, you know it's true, able to see my mom wake up at 6 a.m. and eat a hearty steak. You literally see her eating steak and potatoes at 6 a.m. She knows what blocks her from God. Okay?